Good day. A retired teacher and businessman is shot dead by the side of the road in the very community he served for nearly 50 years. Police locked down Little Dunn's River, and what that tells us about the UDC, St Ann Municipal Corporation, and the police. Why date rape happens? Is it desperation or desire? Those stories and more make up this, the 37th episode of the Frankly Speaking Jamaica podcast. We continue to encourage you to share, like, and subscribe, and place your commentary on the channel. Good day, and thank you for joining. Let's get right into it with my commentary, Frankly Speaking. Last week, Monday, police effectively locked down a popular St Ann beach called Little Dunn's River, just half a mile or so from the world-renowned attraction, Dunn's River Falls and Parks, Oceries. Little Dunn's River has a stream bounding over rocks on its way to a beautiful little beach. Frankly speaking, years ago, the Urban Development Corporation, UDC, that owns the beach wanted to lock off the space from the public. And given the shortage of free beaches on the island for locals, there was a great advocacy to leave it alone. The UDC relented and put very minimal facilities there for the public. Frankly speaking, dozens of people visit every day and hundreds at weekends and on public holidays. A whole range of activities now takes place there, with self-appointed operators demanding to be paid for access to the beach and insisting beachgoers need a paid guide. Police say it has become a nest for criminality, and the money extorted or coaxed out of some for a so-called tour, the police say that money funds criminal activities. The lockdown came following the murder of a young man there 2 Saturdays ago. Police say that's all part of the criminality and fight for control. The young man, 25-year-old Rushane Hanson, otherwise called Breda of Mansfield Heights, St Ann, was a self-styled guide, one of many, frankly speaking. The entire episode represents and demonstrates a failure of state organizations. The UDC and its local organ, the St Ann Development Company, the St Ann Municipal Corporation, and the police. Frankly speaking, their failure to act in preserving order and carrying out their responsibilities and in protecting the public space allowed a vacuum for chaka-chaka to take over, for disorder to reign, and for illegal and apparently criminal activities to take root and flourish. That beach stretch has no parking arrangements, and police have allowed over many months dozens of cars to be parked on the hard shoulder on a corner. For all this time, they allowed and ought to have known about the criminal activity. The municipal corporation allowed the building of structures on the beach and the setting up of stalls along what was once called the One Love Trail. The St Ann Municipal Corporation, like almost all corporations in Jamaica, or what we used to call parish councils, is not really in the habit of preventing what is now the widespread illegal building of structures along beaches, roadsides, anywhere. Tell me one parish capital, one major town, where you would be prevented from going out and erecting stalls along the roadside or shop or whatever you liked without permission. All parish councils, by the way, have enforcement officers. Yes, enforcement officers. Tell me what they do and what the councils do. Many of us blame the police, and in this case, they should get a little blame. Those who believe that the sprouting of the environment for criminal activity is a failure of policing are onto something. But everything that goes wrong in Jamaica, we turn to the police for answers or to blame them, as if we don't know they're overstretched They are poorly led. Their ranks have been infiltrated by the corrupt. Don't we know all of that? And aren't there many other institutions that are falling down on the job? Well, frankly speaking, let's see what's to be done at Little Dunn's River to return access to the people of Jamaica who own it. Here now is Desmond Richards, businessman and journalist.
Yes, Prime Minister, you're absolutely right. The poverty, the politics of poverty is alive and well in the country. And you are one of the chief protagonists in this battle. It should be clear to all of us that the Andrew Holness administration has strengthened the alliance, and an holy alliance between the ruling and political classes, who over the years have fine-tuned the strategy of deceit, deception, and exploitation of public resources. Past political administrations have always relied on the advice of the rich and powerful and strategies how to grow and rescue the economy, to provide jobs, increase exports, and increase GDP and wealth in the country. It has never happened. And the results of all those high-powered advisors are staring us in our faces. We are still in the economic doldrums, getting bags of promises from the finance ministry about economic growth, while poverty continue to explode in our faces. Nothing has happened. Earlier on in the life of this administration, they brought in another high-powered economic team led by billionaire businessman Lee Chin. And we were told how the economy is going to grow. As a matter of fact, they announced the 5-in-4 strategy. Even before those words came out of his lips, they fizzled like butter in sun. Nothing happened. And again, we are getting bags of promises, nothing, no economic, nothing to show for these high-powered advice. Yet the government in 2020 leased out 3,000 acres of prime agricultural land to the same group, the Leaching Consortium. And again, we were told how the country's agricultural sector would grow and flourish using foreign technology. And again, if some of us who are following these proceedings knew it was a ruse, we knew based on experience that nothing would happen. Well, it has revealed itself now that the land has been repurposed to grow houses. Houses, not for the poor, not for those 1 million black squatters, but for the rich and powerful and those with a lot of disposable income. So once again, the black masses are left in the dark, landless, homeless, and powerless. Now, what is happening? How long are we going to continue swallowing empty promises as the politics of poverty takes hold? It can't continue.
That's Desmond Richards. Krissy Cameron, creative and businesswoman, takes on date rape and provides 10 tips to prevent it.
The perils of dating apps like Tinder are making themselves known. I'm talking robins and rapins. One of the most bewildering I've heard in a long time. A woman finally met a man after 6 months of dating online. They met downtown, professed his love within 15 minutes, declaring that she must meet his mother. So they hop in a taxi, rode off to Vineyard Town, where the glowing bride-to-be was taken into a house. He turns like a flash and rapes her with a knife to her throat. My heart goes out to her, but I still can't shake the voice screaming in my head. Why would she go off with a stranger? Desire or desperation? Or maybe she didn't feel at all like he was a stranger. After all, here standing before her was the fantasy she had virtually invested 6 months of her energy into. I think at the heart of so many of these date rape stories is the cultural lag that betrays our inability to establish social norms and boundaries that are conducive to our current technological immersion. Tinder and Badoo and other apps like this fueling the hookup culture in our thoroughly disrupted dating landscape, and people who feel more comfortable having sex with a stranger than they do having a meaningful conversation. The online environment is feeling more and more like real life as it supplants more and more of our real life interactions. Is there so great a difference between the love and the brain after 6 months in a virtual versus real reality relationship? What is at work behind the false familiarity that comes from online communication, where certain distance and anonymity emboldens people to be forward in ways that are unwise at best and unsafe at worst? They're then forced to live out that virtual reality and reward a stranger with an insane level of trust and access when meeting for the first time in person. I used to be on Tinder. Most of these dudes will send you a dick pic as easily as they send you a salutation. And some of these so-called women are just as quick with the slackness. No doubt this is why so many women do not report incidents like this. It's hard to explain the situation when you have to include the part about going to Stony Hill to have sex with a stranger. With date rape, the lines between liberated, laughable, and lamentable are very blurry. And it's hard to cope after things go terribly wrong and you get raped by a man who you've already sent nudes and graphic sexual content within days of him swiping your picture on an app. I've been robbed countless times, and if I encountered them, I'd be tempted to choose violence. But tiptoeing around my judgments won't stop them. Exercise some self-control and keep the conversations clean. Meet them somewhere public, somewhere close to home, somewhere you know and where you're known. Tip the security guard so he'll keep an eye out for you. Find your own way home. Stop assigning familiarity and trust that is undeserved, and for God's sake, do not go to a strange man's house, car, or fluff spot. Frankly, if you're too broke for a taxi to and fro, you're too broke to date responsibly.
That's Krissy Cameron, creative and businesswoman. And now to end game. Is 1 in 1,000, correction, 1 in 1,003 Jamaicans murdered this year up to the end of August. But those who knew Dennis Edwards say he was 1 in 1,000,000. His place, the place where he changed many lives, was Gale, a district in Western St. Mary, where he taught school, helped young men to see their potential, gave away a lot of his salary and business income later. He never stopped finding sports, cricket, football, netball, in which to coach and mentor, referee and umpire, and not just at Tacky High, where he spent nearly 30 years of almost 50 in teaching, 30 out of 47 years in the classroom. And then they shot him down and killed him in Gale on Monday, August 22. Shot down by the side of the road in a community he served for more than 50 years of his 69 on earth. And as it happened, the people first on the scene never even knew how to handle the wounded man or his body. There was hardly an expression of shock. Last Wednesday, the people who he served and loved got together with a candlelight service for him. It was said by German Kidd, a businessman and Mr. Edwards' former student, that it was a time to express disgust over the death and appreciation for his life. And it was all for his firearm. The killers took that from his body. He had over $200,000 in his pocket, and they didn't take that. In one WhatsApp group I'm involved with, someone said, there isn't even outrage anymore over an incident such as this. And someone else answered, what has outrage done over all these recent years? One more in 1,000 deaths. It didn't even make the national news. And how many lives have been influenced by Dennis Edwards, Kiwanian, retired teacher, selfless giver, umpire, mentor, businessman? Thousands upon thousands of lives, I'm told. As I go, you may have noticed that the farm work story we dealt with last week is now taking on legs. That's it for the Frankly Speaking Jamaica podcast for this week. Please like, share, and if you have not yet done so, please subscribe and post your comment on the channel. Until then, I'm Franklin McKnight.